Now we're here with Sofiyya. Sofiyya is yet another interview that we're doing about Muslim women, or with Muslim women who are breaking the barriers, who are literally shattering the stereotype. They're doing the things that we normally don't think that Muslim women either should do, could do, or would be doing. Sofiyya is a television host. She has not only her own TV show, she's very vocal. She's worked internationally, locally, and regionally. She's involved in helping the needy, the most vulnerable, and she sees herself as, most importantly, a Muslim woman who's able to do it all. Good morning, Sofiyya. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Let me start with my first question. You know, this whole series that we decided to do, featuring Muslim women who are breaking barriers, who are shattering the stereotype. So what is a Muslim woman to you?
A Muslim woman is simply that. She is a woman who is a Muslim. I think that in itself, a lot of people give it a definition beyond that, but I think it's anyone that just is female and adheres to the Muslim faith. And there's really nothing more than that.
When you think of the role of a Muslim woman, Sofiyya, a lot of people believe Muslim women are subservient, they're quiet, they're oppressed. They don't sit on television, they don't have a national voice, they don't have blogs, and they don't write their opinions, yet you do all of this.
Well, yes. I mean, I think we need to look back at the Muslim role models. So, for example, a lot of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, his wives. His first wife, Khadija, she actually was one of the best, most infamous businesswomen of her time. And when the Prophet was passing on his message and spreading Islam, she was the breadwinner. So we have other wives of his that were actually dressmakers, and his daughters, his wives, they were all known for being very vocal. They stood for what was right, and they did more than just help the family. They played a big part in society.
Why do you think there's this perception that Muslim women should stay home and tend to children, and that they should stay home? Especially, I don't know whether it's an international or even local, but people see Muslim women as oppressed and not able to do what other women do. Do you feel deprived?
I mean, as much as I would like to stay home at times, I mean, I think you would have had a couple days off as well. I think a lot of that is a lot of culture and misconceptions of culture, being a male-dominated religion. But, I mean, also when you look at the religion, you have the fact that a woman's role, or a man's role actually, is to provide for his wife and his family. So it's not so much that it's something that should be forced on women, but it's an opportunity. For example, when you get married, my money is my money. If I work, my money is my money. If my husband works, half of his money is my money. So I have all the freedom to do what I want in that sense, but I don't need to. So a lot of times people mix up what's the need. You don't need to stay home, but it's your husband's responsibility to take care of you. And I mean, if you're comfortable with that, then so be it.
Now, you're on a national television station, and you are a Muslim woman. You also wear the traditional wear of the hijab and your headwear. I want to ask about the stereotype going on national TV itself. Was that a risk for you, being a Muslim woman, and also taking it beyond a Muslim channel? Do you think mainstream media in Trinidad and Tobago is ready for a Muslim woman to host anything?
I feel like if you go to the malls, if you go to any restaurant, you're encountering Muslim women. I mean, in this country, right, as it is, there's so many Muslim women. So what's the difference between seeing them as teachers, seeing them as doctors, seeing them at all the local restaurants, and then seeing them on TV? If that's such a big part of our society, then why not? For myself, I saw it as an opportunity because there aren't that many Muslim women in the media. And I think that it's something that we need, because not just for myself, but the other children, the other women, they need positive role models in our society. I mean, we're fighting these battles against the Kardashians. And I mean, I'm sure, you know, your children, nieces, nephews, your sisters, you're trying to find, and you're trying to be a better role model for them than Courtney or Chloe. Right. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Has anyone ever come up to you and say to you, Sofiyya, you shouldn't be doing this, that as a Muslim woman, you're not supposed to be doing this?
I have. And then my husband and my father and the producers at the station, who are all Muslims, say, you know what, you're doing a good job, and go for it.
And what would they tell you? Who are the people? What would they tell you? Why would they say that that is not a Muslim woman's role to be doing that?
Unfortunately, sometimes the Muslim men are our own critics. But then you ask them, so why are you even watching it? If you don't want to watch it, change the channel. Because if you want your wives and your daughters to have female Muslim teachers and female Muslim doctors, then what's wrong than watching female Muslim TV shows that are going to educate? And that's what I do. I'm out there to educate and to inspire.
You know, when I look at you and you're a very attractive young lady, you dress with a lot of color, and one of the other women that we've featured in this series speaks about the fact that she has to break her stereotype every day because of her craft. Her face is her muse, and color. A lot of times people think that Muslim women are not supposed to be wearing color, and they're not supposed to be loud, and they're not supposed to be. Where do we get all of these things from?
Honestly, again, I feel it goes back to a lot of culture and a lot of miscommunication. You have to remember that the Arab culture and the Indian culture may be more of the male-dominated, but it goes against the actual tenets of the religion. If you ask someone in Islam, someone asked the Prophet once about, who's supposed to be most respected in the family, and he says, your mother, your mother, your mother, and then your father. So the mother of the religion, the mother of this family, they deserve the most respect. And unfortunately, our men try to beat us down sometimes. And it's quite unfortunate, but at the same time, you just kind of have to keep going with it.
Do you get criticism from Muslim women?
Sometimes I do, yeah. I don't fit their mold of what it might be.
What do you think is the mold of a Muslim woman?
Honestly, someone that prays, someone who does charity, someone that is a good human being, someone that's not going to go out there and lie and slander and do all the things that a good human being should be. Because at the end of the day, that is the purpose of Islam, is to spread peace and happiness.
When we talk about Muslim women as well, you were born into Islam. You were always a Muslim woman.
Yes.
But you lived abroad. That adjustment of the concept of a good Muslim woman abroad and a good Muslim woman here, how divergent is that?
In the States, this is where I lived, in the United States, in Florida specifically, you have a lot of other things to fight than you would here. In Trinidad, it's so comfortable. It's so easy to be a Muslim woman, technically, because you have the mosque every corner you go. You have stores that sell Muslim clothing. You have places that sell halal food. So it's really easy here, I think, in the terms of the conveniences. But in the States, you realize that you have to wear Islam on your sleeve. And being a Muslim female, we wear the hijab. We represent Islam a lot more than the men do in society, because I could look at anybody and a man and you can't tell if they're Muslim or they're not Muslim because they might have a beard, they might not have a beard. Beards are a fad now.
They are.
So at the end of the day, as a Muslim woman in the States, you kind of had to not necessarily assimilate, but you had to make sure that you represented Islam well. And that means that you smile with people and you let them know that Muslim people are happy, pleasant people spreading peace. We're not here to fight anybody about anything.
When you lived in the U.S. post 9/11, how different was it for you as a Muslim woman who continues to wear her hijab?
When 9/11 happened, I was actually still in school, and my parents decided to keep me home. And the day after 9/11, I had teachers calling to say, please, your daughter will be safe, we'll take care of your daughter. And from then on out, even my mother said, if you want, take off the hijab if you're scared. And I said, no, I'm wearing this for a reason. Because the people that are blaming Muslims for 9/11, they need to see that that's not me. I'm not that kind of person. And so since 9/11, I put a lot more effort into being that positive Muslim woman and that positive, ambassador of Islam, because that's what we have to be, unfortunately. No one knows your religion, and that doesn't matter. But unfortunately for me and other Muslim women, we have to be the ambassadors. We have to bear that flag, and we have to represent it the best we can.
Now, when you were in the U.S., you were in Orlando. And recently, Orlando had the situation with the shooting, the nightclub shooting. A lot of questions were asked, not only about, the Muslims and embracing the LGBT community, but the fallout of that. Were you ever at that club? Did you know anything about what takes place? And is there animosity now between Muslims and the LGBT community?
Funny enough, no, I've never been to Pulse nightclub. However, I used to go, there's a little restaurant right next door. I remember when Pulse nightclub was actually being built. It was an old building being renovated. And a lot of times, actually, you drive by it and What the media didn't realize is that the coverage that it got on a national or international feed versus the local publicity was very different. Because the local news, you saw that when they were raising money, the Muslim community in Orlando actually donated thousands of dollars to support the victims and the community. The Muslim community actually went out there and showed support because we're all minorities at the end of the day. So I knew friends who were there that night. And these are people who I have respect for in the sense that, yes, they have lifestyle choices that are different than mine, but I'm not going to be there to condemn them because my life choices are also different from theirs and everyone else's, and you have to live in peace because those are our neighbors. At the end of the day, if I'm in need and that's who's there to help me, then so be it. Because when we had rallies for Palestine and Syria and Pakistan, they were there supporting us.
Are you fearful to go to Orlando now?
You know, funny enough, you say that. My sister actually just hopped on a plane to go to Orlando on a little shopping trip for the summer. So no, because I know that the community there, they support each other. The Muslim community in Orlando and the others, members of society in Orlando, they are supportive. It's a very close community where people have respect for each other. I mean, it is Disney World. So we're used to seeing people of all different races, all different types and sizes. And I think being from the outside, you wouldn't realize that. I know for myself, when I saw what happened in, France a couple months ago, it was different to watch it. But then when you realize how much it impacts you on a personal level when it hits home, you realize the importance of finding safety in those around you and being able to trust the people around you.
Now, your job is interesting. I'm talking about your time in the U.S. You also worked with the LGBT community?
Yeah, I did.
You see yourself as a Muslim woman wearing a hijab, and I know that this sounds wrong to constantly, because no one refers to me as qualifying myself as a Hindu woman, but you see yourself as, you're right, you wear your religion externally. You see yourself as a Muslim woman, yet working with the LGBT community, is that hypocritical? Was that frowned upon?
By some, and I'm sure that many viewers, watching this today might think that it's horrendous and they might denounce it. Because yes, in my holy book, it does denounce, homosexuality. But I'm pretty sure in every holy book, it denounces homosexuality. But at the end of the day as well, it's not my place to cast any punishment or to cast any judgment. Those are their life choices, and it was their decisions, and it doesn't really change who they are to me. Because like I said, they would help me when we had projects. We used to have a project where we fed the homeless downtown. And if you're the kind of person that in your heart finds it necessary to spend your Sunday mornings doing charity to feed the needy, those are the kind of people I want to be around. We had Hindu people that were there outside of a mosque downtown Orlando feeding the homeless. And to me, anybody who wakes up 6 o'clock on their Sunday morning to feed the homeless, they're all right in my book.
Now, also when you talk about your time in the U.S. versus coming to Trinidad, was it hard adjusting yourself to come to Trinidad as a Muslim woman?
It was very hard.
What was the biggest challenge for you?
Honestly, I miss the diversity of the United States. So in Trinidad, we have the Trini Muslims. So we have the Indians, we have the Africans, and we have the very small, minority of the Arab community. In the States, you have the diversity of the actual Indians, the Pakistanis. You have all different types of Arabs. Your Lebanese, your Syrians, your Moroccans, your Afghanis. And you see Islam very differently because every culture celebrates and practices Islam differently. So with that being said, you understand and you have a better idea of how to differentiate what's culture from what's religion. But I feel in Trinidad sometimes a lot of people don't make that differentiation. And it's hard because it's generations upon generations of, well, that's what my father did and that's what my grandfather did, so obviously that must be correct. And so I don't want to say that sometimes we're a bit closed-minded, but I think it's important that Muslims here actually look to the Holy Book and look at what's actually important versus what might be just more history.
What do you think is responsible for that greater sense of, I don't know if it's entitlement or discrimination?
Well, I think when we look at the whole Trinidad society, we have unfortunate discrimination. I mean, just look at our politics, look at the country in itself. Because even within the Muslim community, it's unfortunate, but you do have your Indian mosques and your African mosques. And it's unfortunate. You know, I remember going to mosques in Orlando with, you know, you would look forward to Ramadan because every night you're either getting Arab food one night, then African home cooking the other night, and you're getting your desi food. So you get that variety. And so here, I think people just need to look and to learn to differentiate between culture and custom. Because if you go to a mosque tonight, you might think that in the Muslim religion, in the faith, that the most important thing is to have sahinas or kalori. Right. But when, quite frankly, the most important part of breaking fast, the date and water, that's the simplicity of Islam.
Do you find it difficult when people qualify you all the time, even when we're having this interview, and when you read in the media, the person was of Muslim faith, and for some reason that has slipped into our everyday vocab. They look at you and say, Sofiyya, the Muslim woman on TV,
yeah,
as opposed to just Sofiyya on TV.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate, but at this point, can't really do anything about it. So you have to, since we can't change it, I mean, as much as I'd love to say, let's change it, there are people of the Muslim faith who are unfortunately making this very difficult for us. So, I mean, for example, yesterday, the events that happened in Turkey.
Right.
This was an attack in a predominantly Muslim country in Ramadan, our holiest month, in the last 10 days, which is the holiest days of the year. And it was most likely Muslims against Muslims.
Yeah.
So if you can't realize that there are so many different factions and ways of thought in the Muslim community, and that it isn't also cut and dry, then we as Muslims can do a better job, you know? So it's not just us, but we have to try and let people know and portray that there are good Muslims.
Do you see yourself as a trailblazer, or do you see yourself as a Muslim woman? Do you see yourself as a Muslim woman that is breaking a stereotype?
Honestly, I just see myself as me. I see myself as a Muslim woman because that's what I am, that's what I've always been. But at the same time, I'm trying to get by life. I have bills to pay, I have food to go home and cook. I mean, we're all the same people, you know? If I can inspire anybody with what I do, with my show, with this segment, then so be it. I understand that I might have critics. I understand that I might be upsetting a few as I blaze the trail, as you say. But to me, whether it happens or it doesn't matter, because it's between me and Allah. So
your ability to be outspoken, your ability to be vocal and have an opinion, that in itself to many people is not the role of a Muslim woman.
I remember growing up, my mother always used to say, little girls should be seen but not heard.
Okay.
And I heard that probably every single day of my life. And, you know, my mom actually is not a very religious person. So this was my mom just coming from her Catholic lifestyle, her Trini lifestyle. But then I look at other women around me, other very strong women, because the teachers in our schools, they're Muslim women, they're vocal, they have to be to yell over all the students yelling. So what's the difference?
If you had to speak to the Muslim women today, those who, you know, because there are a lot of, especially now, there is the internet, there's everything around, and there's a contradiction sometimes with accepting your faith, accepting what people expect you to be, accepting your individuality, and all of that around the cloak of Islam. What would you say to the young women?
I would say embrace who you are. Be proud to be a Muslim woman, and to actually don't just look to the aunties and the older folk of the community. Look to the people who are supposed to be our role models. I'm not saying choose me as a role model. I'm not saying choose you as a role model. I'm just saying look at the Prophet's wives, look at the Prophet's daughters, study their stories, find out how strong and independent and vocal they were. They fought for what was right, and they did it all, you know, with a smile on their face. They were humble, they were kind, and at the end of the day, we should all strive to do that, because once we start judging other people, or once we start criticizing other people, we break one of the basic tenets of Islam, which is just to be humble and kind.
You know, do you face discrimination when you wear your hijab here?
Sometimes I do.
Really?
Yes, because if I wear a pink hijab and it's not black, if I wear pants and I don't wear a skirt or I don't wear a gown, you know, you can't please everybody. But if, to me, I I feel comfortable, and I know that at the end of the day, I'm going out there and I'm pleasing my Lord, and I'm just trying to be a genuinely good person. That's it. I have a lot of friends who are Muslim and don't wear hijab. And funny enough, in the States, I'd be going out sometimes, and while I'm the one in hijab, and I'm the one that's the outward religious person, it'd be my friends who don't wear hijab whipping one out of their purse saying, hey, it's time to pray. And that's what it comes down to. A lot of people think that just because I wear the hijab, I'm more religious than them, or just because you wear the gown, you're more religious than me.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's what's in here, and it's how honest you are with God.
When you carry your religion forward and you talk about the discrimination, I find that so hard to believe because Muslims are part of the tapestry of our country.
Yeah.
What do you tell people when they tell you that you're not being a good Muslim woman? And do they ask you, what does your husband have to say about this?
Well, funny enough, my husband is my #1 supporter, and I can't thank him enough for everything that he's done. I mean, he's the one that's pushed me forward. He's the one that when I'm at work or when I'm shooting, he's home cooking dinner for me. And that breaks so many stereotypes. That breaks the stereotypes of not only a Muslim man, but an Indian man and a man in general.
Right.
So, I mean, I really, really think that it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, we get a lot of discrimination, but if you let it get to you and then you start having animosity back towards people, that's just continuing the cycle.
Okay.
So be it.
As we wrap this interview, your closing comments, because this segment is really about Muslim women, conversations with Muslim women who don't fall into the mold of what you consider to be quiet, subservient. You are a television personality, you're outspoken, you are very vocal, you have a children's program, and you do charity work throughout this country. Your closing comments.
If you want the Muslim faith to be recognized as a peaceful, happy religion, which it is, one that is good to people around you, then you have to do the same. And that's what I try to do. I let people see that the Muslim religion, our faith, is what makes me the good person that I am. I was raised with values. I was raised with a mindset that I should be the best that I can be. In Islam, we are taught to be the best that we can be, to be the smartest we could be, to eat the healthiest we can. And that's what I try to do. And that's what I would like to encourage other Muslim women to do. And for the men to understand that if the women empower themselves, then they empower your daughters, they empower your sisters, and they empower you. Because you want a wife that's going to be supportive, you want a mother who's going to be supportive. So do it.
Sofiyya, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that this interview has really changed your concept and made you understand a little more that the Muslim woman is not the Muslim woman that you sometimes think she is. They are Muslim women who are blazing trails throughout this country. Stay with us. This is The Morning Brew.